the stick. Get the stick, Geordie. Get the stick.
No rest for the wicked. Did I mention that we're changing the motor in my friend's boat too? Yes, 2 identical Perkins going in 2 very similar monks, except this one isn't quite as tall as mine. Anyway, this is Zephyrus, my friend's boat, and we've cleared it all out in anticipation of swapping out the nasty big Perkins that's in here. Stay tuned. Okay, so sit down. This is amazing. All right, this engine has the very rare and very obscure horizontal Perkins 6-cylinder 6354. I don't know if you can tell what you're looking at here, but this is a 6-cylinder Perkins diesel laid over on its side. That's the rocker cover up there in the cylinder head. And the oil pan, as you can see down here, is a complex casting that actually the raw water cooling goes through as well. Anyway, it's a beast. It's an incredible beast. When I look at it in the bilge of this boat, it somehow makes the whole thing look like a tugboat. It's so big. It's also turbocharged, rating it at about 185, 195 horsepower, which is about 100 horsepower more than this boat could ever use. When we're cruising on this boat, it hardly ever comes off the idle. It's massive, it's heavy, the boat is sitting way low in the front. It's a liability maintenance-wise. It's currently running reasonably sweetly. It has leaks both at the front and rear main seal, which are within reason. They're tolerable and we can certainly keep them under control. But because we were able to get 2 motors, matching Perkins 4s, we're going to swap this one out as well. Yeah, this one's going to be a little more complex. There's a lot to take apart, and anyway, I'm going to start looking into it, and I'll keep you up to date with it. Cheers. Bloody doorway, hatch, whatever you want to call it, is made out of 2 laminations of 3/4 inch plywood. That makes it pretty heavy. Pretty bloody heavy. It's got to stay here for the duration of the project without falling over. Not even once. Now you can see what we're dealing with. First things first, obviously, is get all the oil and water out of it. And that's a bit complex because there's a number of oil coolers and heat exchangers. I'm going to assume the water in it doesn't have antifreeze in it, but that's not a good assumption. I'm going to have to take some out first and make sure. And I have a little drill pump that I'll use first for the oil and then for the water. Yeah, okay. Okay, so let's see what this looks like. Apply a little pressure. I would have thought that right there would have been enough to make it shift a little bit. So it's a little bit stuck. Problem is there's going to be this angle iron on the starboard side that's giving me fits. I'm hoping I can get it up enough that I can figure out what it is and then try to get it off the engine. The buggers that put this engine in here were laughing at the poor bugger me who never had to take it back out again. Cutting off these bloody studs. That was a lot of fun. Here we go. It's on its way out. I'll tell you, it has been an absolute nightmare. I mean, yeah. I don't know if you remember that this thing was laying on its side, and it became apparent that when they installed this engine, not only did they cut a big hole in the roof, I don't know if you can see these cut marks right through the beams and everything, and drop it in with a crane, they also had the entire sole, wheelhouse sole, and all the structure taken out, and probably the tanks. I had to do some crazy heroic long distance 12 inch long reciprocating saw blade cutting action to get a motor mount off the other side. The boat itself looks great.
You can't see much down there. Engine beds look remarkably unmolested. One little notch up here, but that's way ahead of where the new engine is going to need to attach. Anyway, I'm going to just stop talking now and keep pumping these come-alongs and then have a beer. Cheers. Oh, I've done some miserable things in my life. This is amongst the most. This has actually gone remarkably well. I apologize, I haven't shot much video, largely because I keep forgetting. Because this has been kind of a marathon of figuring out how to get this up and out and tipped over and all the bits off it. But on the whole, as with the other one, it's got to be on there, Peter, before you can wail on it. It's going remarkably well. About a decade ago, I was diagnosed with repetitive strain injury in my hands. My doctor said, "Do you use your hand as a hammer?" I said, "What do you mean? I don't think so, no." He said, "I bet you do." I don't know why I still do it. It's because it's so effective. Done! Alright. Spin these off of here. I'm taking the injectors out. You see I've got one out already. Because I believe they're the same as the 4-cylinder engines we're putting in. So it'd be nice to have some spare injectors, even just to have ones to rebuild. You know, an interesting tool I've never owned? I think they call them speed wrenches. It's like a brace and bit with a socket on the end. Not a socket, but you know, a drive, a square drive. And you always see them on TV shows where guys are, or in the old days anyway, magazines, like hot rod magazines, where guys are assembling engines and they're spinning down all the nuts for the oil pan or something. Sort of pre-pneumatic. I actually have a pneumatic gun that I was going to use for this job, but I am in a marina and I have relatively patient and understanding neighbors, but I'd hate to put them to the test. Anyway, this is about as interesting to you as watching paint dry, so I'm going to turn you off and maybe I'll bring it back around when I lift the head off. Now I have to find something reasonably clean to turn this camera off with, and that's not it. Because this is not my camera, I have borrowed it. Alright, here we go, see ya. Well, I don't mind saying I'm beat. This motor has been a beast to get apart. Everything just seems tighter and more miserable. I don't know if you can see over there the bell housing and the flywheel and the drive flanger has a big spline on it. I'll explain all this to you in detail in a bit, but my God, it's a serious transmission setup. Wow, and heavy, and a bit complex, but you know, not rocket science. But so I'm getting pretty close. Lots of the caps to get off here, and then I'll push the pistons out to the bottom. Oh yeah, and we'll get this bloody block out of here. So here we go with the final lift, so to speak. Gotta remember to take that tack drive off. So I've got it picked up through one of the bores so that it's on a good slope so that I can get it up as high as possible. I got another 6-7 inches to go, at which point I should be able to put the bridge down underneath. The bridge will now go down into the bilge, and I'll jack it up, try to pull it up with the other come along. Anyway, let's see how we do. One more, that's about it. Okay. Let's see if we can get this up a bit. There we go. Actually, okay, so I put some guards on the side of the bridge so that the sled can slide up, because this is waxed and it's remarkably slippery. Will slide up successfully and not fall off. I have it supported with this right now, but I'm going to put a come along through to the back, and with any luck take some of the tension off, take these screws out, and we're there. Okay, so I'm going to keep this other rope as a safety and start to pull. But might slip just a little bit. Oh God, yeah. all the giggling about. See what this roll's like. I don't know if you can see me. I just got in my truck this morning, and someone has affixed a little solar-powered, jiggling, dancing queen onto my spare tire. I thought it was just sitting there, but it's actually glued on. So I guess I'll leave it there. I think I know who it was, but we'll see how long that stays. Cheers. Okay, so this is a banner day. Summertime, you can tell because the roof's off the truck. Little hot rod, just love it. Okay, I've just gone and picked up all the ancillary bits, the transmission, flywheel, starter, header tanks, all that stuff, which I removed from the engine in my buddy's garage to make it lighter and easier to manage. So I'm going to just take all this stuff out of here now and put it on the dolly, which I got parked down here, and go back for the engine. All right, which is going to be pretty straightforward. This thing is stupid heavy. So. All right, let's go. It's good to have the engine fairly heavy. Stop. This is a big day, red letter day. That motor, which is the 4-cylinder Perkins 4236, is going to go through the window and into MV Zephyrus. I've got it all set up, the gantry's all ready to go, and I'll get some more wood down there after to create a platform to put the transmission back on it and prepare it in other ways. Wow, here we go. Last step of getting this thing sort of in place. The engine is in the boat, still up on the inside, what I call bridge. And the next step is to get it down onto this platform that I built across the opening in the bilge, where I'll reassemble it. I'll mate it with the original transmission, and hopefully that'll go smoothly. So as with hauling it out, and well, this will be the fourth time I've done this, I can't get a come along. I can't slide this along the bridge and then get the come along between the engine and the beam inside, because there's only a few inches there. Lifting it, that's been, maybe you've watched along where I've done this crazy slide thing, and it's just a bit precarious. This time I'm just going to lower it gently. So what I'm going to do is lift this end of the bridge enough to take the strut out, lower it just a few inches, let the engine slide down a little bit on the bridge until it's directly under the beam. It's already tied to the beam. I'll just keep tightening that as a safety, and then as it gets directly below it, I'll have it good and tight, drop the beam, and then just release this rope, which has 4 windings. It's doubled and 4 windings around the beam, which will be plenty of friction to let me just lower it down onto the floor. And of course, you'll be the first people to see if it doesn't go that way. Well, I'm sure it will. Here we go. What's the first step here? That's tethered, that's tethered. This is ready, so just take out the strut here. Okay, so this can come out. As I start to lower it, it's going to want to slide. It's tied back there, so it shouldn't be a problem. Okay, so I got to get it low enough that it'll guaranteed slide as I release this, which I think we will now. So I can let that come down till it's relatively close underneath the beam. Okay, good. So now I'm going to actually hang on to this and lower the gantry down some more. Pretty soon this will be taking the bulk of the weight. And it might swing a little bit at that moment, but I'm not going to worry about it too much. So I'm just going to let the bridge out from underneath. A little swinging, just to make it adventurous. There we go. So that's slack. Great. So it's completely suspended on the beam. So I just got to get this tied off. There's so many wraps on this beam up here, there's almost no tension on this, but no sense taking risks. Good. Okay, and just slowly let her down. Right about there, it's time to spin her around. There we go. Engine's in place. Time to put the transmission on. Tomorrow. Cheers!